setting up an automated strategy that you forget about was the best thing that I ever did, because I'm impatient and I just like want things to happen fast. But investing isn't a fast thing, right? Unless you have a heap of money to begin with, you need to start out with sort of just recurring, slowly building up your portfolio. And over time, it really does build up to a substantial amount.
This just rings true across pretty much all the finance books I've read. Everyone says, pay yourself first. Like, take 10% of your wage and invest it in stuff. And how do you do that? And you do it every week. You automate it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ben Bergs Show with your favorite MBA and high school dropout, talking everything crypto, business, and personal growth. Today we've got Bergs back from the dead. He's been in surgery, getting a new nose. Bit of plastic surgery, Bergs?
Oh, mate. So actually, I'll tell you what. So I got a call. This guy's doing my security doors, right? And he's like, oh, I got to come over. I got to fix him. He had to do this little thing. And I'm like, oh, look, mate, I just had surgery. I'm pretty tired. And I've just had a septum done. He's like, you vain bastard. He just starts bagging me out. I barely know this guy, right? He's just a tradie. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? It's the inside of my nose. And he's like, oh, and then he lets it go. Anyway, I've had surgery. I'm a bit nasal today, but we've got a cracking episode today on crypto. I'm really looking forward to this one, man.
Just copying it from the tradie.
Oh, mate, I cop it from everyone. It's ridiculous.
So today we're talking about how I built $1 million crypto portfolio, starting with basically nothing. And this is not a bragging episode. This is genuinely just like sharing my strategy of how I've gone from basically starting with not much 6 years ago. I was sharing a bunk bed with my brother when I was 18 to building up my crypto portfolio. Exactly how I did it, lessons learned, and how you can do it too, with some things at the end. If you hold on to the end, we're going to share some areas that we think are good to look into from an altcoin perspective as well. So I posted this on Twitter recently and I got a heap of engagement. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity to maybe dig a little bit deeper into the strategy, how it all played out, and how we got here, and how you can follow that same strategy as well.
And this is incredibly impressive because you did this in not much time at all. And it was, you started off with less crypto than I did after I did, and you had a lot more than I did very, very quickly. So we'll go through exactly how you did that, because it is fascinating. So
I think it's a mix of having a simple strategy to begin with, but then also having to put in your riskier plays. So for me, as I mentioned, go back 6 years ago, I was still sharing a bedroom with my brother, the bunk bed. Actually, we come from a middle-class family. Like, we didn't have a lot of money. Everything that I invested, I had to sort of work for, and I had so much conviction in the crypto space, but didn't have any money to invest. So I was forced down the path of dollar cost averaging, and we all know what that is. It's basically putting in money regularly each week, and I just put in whatever I could afford to invest to begin with. So that was a few dollars to begin with. I did it through Get Paid in Bitcoin, which I still use into this date. So your employer can basically pay a percentage of your wage directly into Bitcoin. And I found that the best way to do that was just through an automated buy, because I tried to do it manually week after week, and it's just boring, and you don't want to do it, and you forget about it. It's just all too hard, and then you end up spending the money in your bank and on other shit, right? So setting up an automated strategy that you forget about was the best thing that I ever did, because I'm impatient and I just like want things to happen fast. But investing isn't a fast thing, right? Unless you have a heap of money to begin with, you need to start out with sort of just recurring, slowly building up your portfolio. And over time, it really does build up to a substantial amount.
That's right. And this just rings true across pretty much all the finance books I've read. Everyone says, pay yourself first. Like, take 10% of your wage and invest it in stuff. And how do you do that? And you do it every week. You automate it. You get someone else to do it. You outsource it, so it automatically happens. It goes out of your bank account. You can't spend it. And that stack keeps growing and growing. Warren Buffett, always be compounding. Don't interrupt it unnecessarily. This is what that does as well. And always be buying. So you're going to buy the tops, you're going to buy the bottoms, and you're going to end up somewhere in the middle. Like all those finance books, it just boils down to dollar cost averaging is the base level where people need to start, and it is so effective.
Yeah, spot on. So I started doing that for about 6 months. About 6 months in this, so this was 2018. So I discovered Bitcoin in 2017. I didn't buy for 6 months because it took me 6 months to really go deep and understand what I wanted to do. I then had a decent stack, and I don't advise or recommend this to anyone, but I was still living at home. I went, and I still didn't have any money. I went to the bank, and I think I've said this on the pod. I asked for a loan to buy crypto, and obviously they just laughed me out of the room. They said, basically, get the hell out of here. I then went back the next day and said I was going on a holiday to America and I needed money for a holiday. I needed $20,000 for a holiday. And literally within 3 hours, they'd transferred me $20,000, 12% interest, straight to my bank. And I went straight to the exchange and bought 75% Bitcoin, 20% ETH, and 5% of small coins. And this is the start of when I started to diversify. Now, I bought Bitcoin predominantly around, I think it was around 3,000 US dollars, 3 to 4,000 US dollars, so somewhere around sort of 5,500, 6,000 Aussie was where I bought a lot of my Bitcoin. Late 2018, Ethereum dumped, and I was at ETHCon in Sydney in 2018, and that's when I first started to go heavy into Ethereum. So I had a little bit of Ethereum at the time, but I at ETHCon just got super bullish. Vitalik was there. Kane Warwick was there when he was building synthetics. Like all the heavy hitters in Ethereum were there, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is insane. At the time, Ethereum I think was $80 Australian, and the talk of the conference was when Ethereum was going to get back to $100. And I just remember going, oh my goodness, like this is amazing. So I started to rotate some of my Bitcoin into Ethereum. I also I started to switch my dollar cost averaging into Ethereum, and went hard on a project at the time called Haven. Now, Haven now is what we know as synthetics. It's a DeFi exchange, basically, and they do synthetic assets. Now, I bought into that project because I saw Kane Warwick talk about Haven at this conference. I was like, wow, this is going to be massive. Went heavy into Haven. It didn't do anything, Bergs, for 6 months. And as you know, off the Richter, ADHD, impatient Ben Simpson over here said, fuck this project isn't doing anything. After 6 months, I sold all my Haven at sub $10 million market cap. And then at some point during that year after I sold, it migrated into synthetics. It went from, I think, a $10 million market cap to somewhere near $1 billion market cap.
Oof.
Insane.
100x?
I haven't done the calculations because it makes me sick. But it would
it's
have
100x, mate. Cop that.
There you go. Basically would have been tens of millions, put it that way. So that was my biggest lesson I learned in terms of like selling out of a project too soon. There's a fine line between selling out too soon and not allowing the project to deliver what it says to deliver, and holding on for too long and the project, you're just having hope and FOMO that, not even FOMO, just hope that the project's going to return. Now, I was on the earlier side. I wasn't patient enough. I didn't let the project do its thing, and lost a lot of potential upside. But it taught me a valuable lesson.
Exactly right. And it's hard to know when you have an idea of what you want the project to execute on, what's going to happen in the next 6 months if they're not delivering. You just don't know. Yeah. But again, with any investing, it's not always an on-off decision. Like if you've got 1,000 of a token, you can sell 500 and keep 500, so you're still in the game.
Yeah. I think too many people think it's a black and white decision, Bergs, of like I'm either in or out. And I say that all the time on our one-on-one calls that we do with members, is that like you don't need to be black or white. You can go half and half. You can go 75-25. You don't have to be all out or all in.
That's right.
So the next thing I did was I started to invest early into altcoins. One was Nexus Mutual, which is a DeFi smart contract platform that I still own some of today. And then also that I invested into a few early projects in the Metaverse. So there was Red Fox, there was Mana. They were the main two. There was a couple of others I invested in early as well. But this was 2018. So this was before the Metaverse was even a thing. This is 4 years before Facebook, changed their name to Meta. And this was the biggest lesson I learned in terms of being able to take calculated risks on trends that are very early. And if you're very early on a trend and you can get the right project, it doesn't actually, to be fair, it doesn't even need to be the right project, because when the narrative plays out, a turkey can fly in a hurricane and everything pumps, because you're in a project that people aren't necessarily looking at the product. They're just looking at a project that's been in that space that now there's a lot of influx of money, and money finds homes that can talk to a narrative. And the Metaverse was the biggest narrative. I remember when Decentraland just absolutely took off. Like it was the day that Facebook renamed to Meta was I'm pretty sure the absolute top for Decentraland, and that was when I'd learnt the lessons from 2017. I'd been working crypto full time, and I was able to take out sort of considerable amounts of profits during that time. and rotate into cash, fiat, dollars, money on the bank, money. And that was when I made, the most of those gains.
This is such an important lesson. So there's a couple of lessons here. The first one is be active at the top and the bottom. So when things go and they're starting to top, do something. If they're bottoming, do something. And in general terms, if they're topping and you got some, just start to average out. In the bottom, start to average in with your cash on the sidelines. And I remember this point with Decentraland. I actually went and looked at their product, and I went in, looked at their world, went into the Decentraland world. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is this absolutely pumping? And we're seeing this now with, and even me, I had a lot of FOMO where I'm like, oh, I should buy this, I should do this. I didn't end up buying because it was a top, and it was a great decision not to do that. But we're seeing the same thing with AI and AI tokens at the moment, where just because they're in the AI space, people just literally look for AI. That's great, buy it, and it pumps. And then because it goes up, it gets more attention and people start to buy more. And if that's happening and price is appreciating, you need to think, first of all, why is it appreciating? And who's on the other side of that trade? It's going to be someone like Ben selling his profits to you.
Yeah, once that everyone's talking about something, you're too late. Again, on these one-on-one calls, people are asking me about crypto AI tokens and whatever else. It's like, guys, the bubble's popped. It's already over. You've missed it. You missed the boat.
Yep.
It's time to look at the next trend.
And Ben's talking about 2018, probably about then. Tokens that people were buying. I won't name the token, but a lot of people bought it, and it was an AI token back then. And since then, the project's been going along. They honestly haven't delivered that much. But because people were still holding that token since 2018, which is 5 years ago, they've still got big bags of it. They bought it cheap. AI pumped. They start selling it off. More people start buying it. They're emptying their bags. They're offloading it to you. And you're going to be in for the next round trying to offload it next time.
100%. And I just wanted to give context to people that weren't around back then in crypto. So we'll use Decentraland. Decentraland was and still is probably one of the top 2 metaverses in crypto. During 2018, 2019, when I was, buying or accumulating some of these metaverse projects, let's use Decentraland, $50 million market cap. So the price of the token back then was around 5 cents-ish, 3 to 4 cents. Bergs, at the top of its run 2 years later, so it went from 5 cents to a peak of $5. It's 100x.
Oof.
In a course of a week, it went from, this is when Facebook renamed to Meta, and this is what I talk about, mainstream narrative, getting in beforehand. When they renamed Meta to Facebook to Meta, Decentraland went from 81 cents to $5 in the space of about 3 weeks.
Yep.
Insane. The chart is literally vertical like this. It is 90 degrees upwards.
It's crazy. I've just finished reading The Psychology of Money, and people really don't invest on, numbers and facts. They invest on narratives. Like, is it easy to tell to someone else? Can I explain it? Does it make sense in my head? Does it fit with my cognitive biases? And then if I can understand that and I can explain it to someone else, they're likely to understand it, believe it, and go invest in that thing. So if you have a strong narrative with a few market trends and direction, that thing is going to take off, whether they're capable of delivering it or it's a great product or not.
I was lucky enough to be able to sell out of those projects. And by the way, when the market's pumping and you're making decent chunk of change, it is very hard to sell. And I didn't do this in the previous cycle, but 2021, 2022 was when I did sell. And the reason I was able to do that was because, one, I'd been through that market cycle before, but two, I had a plan. I wrote out on a spreadsheet before this happened the targets for the prices that I wanted to hit. And I remember the day that I started to sell, and it was like, it was a decision of looking at the product, literally going into the metaverse, literally seeing what these guys had built and what it was valued. And I'm going, no way on God's green earth is this thing worth multi-billions of dollars. This thing is shite.
That's exactly it. It's like going in there, looking at it, do these things match up? Because you've got to remember, these companies, they don't release their finances, their balance sheets, how much sales they have. They don't have any of that. It's literally a future projection of what this thing could be. The nearest kind of simile would be VC investing. We're investing early, it's hopes and dreams, and you hope to get somewhere. And if you're sitting there and you've got an uncomfortably big bag and you're sitting pretty and you look at that and go, oof, I don't know if they're going to make that, or like if someone comes in and actually looks at this and sees what's really going on, I should start to get down to a comfortable position where I sleep well at night. Yeah. And the other thing is, if you start thinking, oh, what bike should I buy? What car should I buy? Or house or boat? That is a signal where you need to start averaging out.
Yeah, spot on, Bergs. So that was like a lot of the gains. And then for 2 years, between 2018 and 2019, I actually took 100% of my salary in Bitcoin. I was still living at home. The cash I was earning from my previous job, I was taking all in Bitcoin. So I was just accumulating heaps.
Such amazing. A lad. What a boss move, mate. It's just like, pay me 100% in Bitcoin, just all in, mate. Just jump in.
I was all in. And then obviously I had to get a life, and I was like, okay, I need some money. And now for the last 2 or 3 years, I took a bit of a break between November 2021 and the end of last year, because we ran from 60k USD down to 20, and I thought we were overvalued. And then I started buying again as of December. So I take 30% of my salary in Bitcoin and go straight to Bitcoin each week. I own Ethereum, I own some NFTs, and I own a couple of altcoins. That is Nexus Mutual, the smart contract platform, and also Maple Finance, DeFi. And that's not recommendations to buy, that's just from a transparency perspective. I've gone from owning 15 to 20 altcoins down to 2, and I've never been more bullish on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yeah, and that's where I think a lot of the value is going to accrue to. And I think for a lot of people that are sitting at home that maybe have a portfolio or been thinking about having a portfolio, like the lesson here is that it's not too late. People always think it's too late. You know, it was at this price and I missed out and da-da-da-da-da. I look 5 to 10 years in the future, right? Bitcoin right now is a $500 billion asset market cap. Gold, right? And Bitcoin is the digital gold. Gold is a $10 trillion market cap. Even if we are able to get 50%, if we're able to penetrate 50% of the gold market cap, that's a 5x right now on the Bitcoin price. And that's just gold alone, right? So like there is so much growth to come. To sit there and say you're too late, you know, it's going to be, so many people do it. It's just human psychology, right? But the you know, moving forward in 2 or 3 or 4 years' time, you'll be saying the same thing then about now. You know, it's never too late.
Exactly. And think about this in terms of, like, think of it in 10 years. When you think long term, your decisions become a lot easier because you remove the emotion of the day. And one thing that pops into my head was my real estate agent. Like, hey, I went to go, sat in his office, and he's got this photo, and it's just a skeleton sitting on a bench. And it's like waiting for real estate prices to go down. It was just hilarious, right? And obviously because he's selling, he's got incentive, he's got everything. But the reality is that if you're waiting for something to go down to push all your money in, time and time again, we have seen that is the wrong strategy to do. You need to build your, and this is any market, right? Any finance book you read, you need to build your base. And something like over the last 10 years, the top 10 days have been responsible for 50% of the gains. Yeah. What are the odds you're going to pick one of those days? Probably zero. Are you going to be at your computer? You're going to pick it. You're going to get your money in time. How will you know? You don't know what's going to happen in the future. Just average in and build that base. And once you've got that base, do what Ben did. Take a small allocation and start to go further out on the risk curve. Yeah. Because those are the things you don't know when they're going to hit, but there's such asymmetric upside that you can really bloom. Your portfolio will just absolutely bloom. That's exactly what happened to you, Ben, where you said you were uncomfortably long in an altcoin. And that thing made you a lot of money, and you're now able to do the things you are today because of that one move where you thought nothing of it at the time. It sat there. It could have gone to zero. That would have been okay because it wasn't a lot of money. But then it actually bloomed to this massive amount and you took action. That is a key thing. Take action. You sold it into fiat, and that changed your life.
100%. It did. And we had some losses along the way. It wasn't just this 1 or 2 investments, like it was all green and rosy. Like, you know, Bergs, you and I both got into some investments early doors that didn't go the right way. Like, you know, early on, ICOs, projects went to zero. Like, you know, we're barreling sort of, you know, $100 ETH into like ICOs thinking they're going to do well, and they all, oh geez, I don't know one ICO that actually like turned into a decent project.
It was horrible. So at the time, like let's say ETH is $100, right? And you put 10 ETH into a project, it's $1,000. In terms of money, it's not that much. It's $1,000. You put it in, great. Let's see how we go. if I would have kept that, like it would have been at least today's terms, it would have been a 17x, right? So that 1,000 would have been 17,000. And if I times it by all the projects I did, I kind of think like the millions that I would have. I'm like, fuck. And the thing is, you offset those losses, but the losses themselves are really small because the cost base is small as well. And, you know, this is just part of it. Like, one thing is investing money and making money. The other part is keeping it and growing your wealth. And that is very hard to do. And you only learn by doing. You will get burnt. You will lose money. You will end up with a lot of lessons. Look, in life, you either end up with the money or the lesson. But that is the price you pay. That is the entry fee for investing. It's uncomfortable, but it's what you need to do if you want to be successful in investing.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, the best thing that I've ever done was implement a boring, automated strategy that I forget about. We're at the 28th of March. It was fucking Christmas yesterday, it feels like. But 3 months have gone by where I've bought Bitcoin every single week since December. And I look at my portfolio, that just like my transactions up to this point, I'm like, holy shit. Like there's a deep, like crypto, Bitcoin's up 70% since I started buying. I've doubled my money already, basically. Like and I've done nothing. But I haven't done this because I thought that was going to happen. I just know from experience that buying in bear markets when it's boring with an automated strategy just works. And people complicate the shit out of it. They start to trade. They try and get into DeFi. They're trying to stake and earn this compounding. They're doing all this crazy shit. And guess what? I'm up 70% in 4 months. I've done nothing. That is better and nearly guaranteed than any trader out there right now.
This in traditional markets, it's something like between 80 and 90% of just boring index funds outperform all the hedge funds and investment funds. Just that strategy, or people actually trying to pick things.
Yep.
And, you know, apply. These are really smart people, apply their knowledge and their models. Only about 10% of them are better than a basket of goods from the market.
Bitcoin's annual compound growth rate averaged out over the last 10 years is over 100%. If you just held Bitcoin from 10 years ago, you would beat every hedge fund in the world. Now, we're not saying this, Ben Bergs listeners, to rub it in. We don't want to rub salt in the wounds. This is just like make it ultra clear, because we hear people every day trying to come into crypto and just make these crazy investments. They have no Bitcoin and they've got 17 altcoins that they're trying to like get from 0 to $1 million in 4 days. 99% of the time it's not going to work. And the reason I'm so passionate about telling you this is not to brag. It's just to say how fucking simple it is. But we overthink it so much.
This is the thing. We think, like, we get seduced by complexity, where we want to think that to get ahead, it needs to be complex. There needs to be trading tools. There needs to be some kind of insight. But the reality is you don't need that. And it's so boring to say. But that is how you build your base, and then you get into the spicy stuff. And if you're looking at someone like Nassim Taleb and a few other people, they call this a barbell strategy. And I don't really like that name because barbell should be even on both sides, but whatever. And they say one side of the barbell is basically what Ben has described, your Bitcoin and your Ethereum, if we're just talking about crypto. And that's about 80 to 90% of what you do. That's on the left side. You don't touch that. You just keep dollar cost averaging in and you do not touch it. Those plates just grow. And on the right side, you got some spicier stuff. You can buy some NFTs. You can buy a couple of projects. You can run into some narratives. You can buy and hold those coins. And that is the asymmetric upside. If you lose that 5 or 10% on that side, doesn't matter too much because you still got your 90, 95% on the other side. But if that hits and that blooms, like what happened with your altcoins, mate, that's amazing. You sell that off, you put it on the other side of the barbell and keep some money for yourself, go on a nice holiday. But that is literally the way to succeed in these markets.
Yeah, spot on. Now, we just want to touch on 3 sectors that we're looking at, our team of analysts at Collective Shift are looking at. And if you don't know, we basically do investment research and analysis for over 2,000 members globally. And that's why we speak from a position of sort of research, not just mumbo jumbo that we think. 3 areas that we like. One is the layer 2s, Bergs, and you picked up a nice little airdrop, bit of helicopter money over the weekend. Arbitrum.
Oh, mate, how good! So I've been in Arbitrum for over a year. It's a layer 2 Ethereum ecosystem, right? And really the point of difference here is you go over to layer 2 and instead of paying $5 in gas, you're paying like 5 cents. It's incredible. You can do really quick transactions. There was a game called Bridge World. There's a token called Magic. Got involved in that with a guild. It's got NFTs. It's kind of like, one of those nerdy Dungeons and Dragons card games. You can send people on quests. You can do all this stuff. So we're stuffing around in there. So all of a sudden they're like, hey, Arbitrum drop, here you go. So I claim my tokens. And just for me, I wasn't heavily involved. It was one of the lower allocations, but that was $4,000, an airdrop, $4,000, bang, just arrived. And then in the guild I was in, there's 3 of us and we both put in 1 ETH each and we did a bunch of activity. That guild got about $12,000, which is just incredible. So we'll reallocate that. And then the 2 other people that are in that guild, they ended up getting, I think, $14,000 and $10,000 each. That is just from being early to an ecosystem, seeing what it's about, making maybe $20 worth of transactions is what I did. And then you get this amazing airdrop. And these are the areas, this has been on Collective Shift's radar for a while. We made multiple videos over a year ago about how to actually take $20, go over there, do a couple of transactions, and these chains will reward those people. Like these are the kind of areas that you can get into for a significant monetary reward. It's incredible.
Yeah. And there's some other ones there. You can also look into Ethereum scaling solutions, which I feel as though Nick and Matt have been talking about forever. So you've got Optimism, Arbitrum, and Polygon, so you can check that out. You can also head over to Collective Shift. We've done a heap of research on these tokens in simple form, so you can understand what they do, how they work, over at collectiveshift.io. For a starter membership, I think you get access to that, maybe Insider, but you can check over and check it out.
Starter will have access to it. So all memberships will have access to that. And we've got the upcoming airdrops as well, ones that we know about and ones that we think are going to have future airdrops, and how you carry out activities on there and potentially get rewarded in the future. It's just an amazing feeling, just helicopter money straight to your face. Here you go. Brightened up my day, mate. I'm going to go to Japan.
The next sector that we like is gaming. We've been talking about this a little bit on the podcast as well, but crypto gaming, there's been so much VC capital invested into this sector. A lot of the big VCs are doubling down on this industry, and crypto gaming, or gaming in general, is just a massive, massive industry. Some examples there that we like: Illuvium, Immutable X, and ApeCoin. Again, you can check out some of that research over at Collective Shift. And last but not least, liquid staking. So this is where you can stake your tokens, for example, Ethereum. And you can basically participate in the network to help the network run, and you get basically rewards to do that. So some examples of liquid staking is where you group your capital together and you go and stake with larger amounts with different people. And some examples there that would like a Rocket Pool and also Lido. Yeah, that's not financial advice or investment advice, but they're just ones that we're looking out to, and you can jump on Collective Shift. Starter membership's $19 a month. It's absolutely donuts if you really want to get serious with crypto and build your portfolio.
And this is the thing, like the majority of people will easily find out how to get into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And if you're on the other side of that barbell, the reason people don't go in there is because it's complicated. It's hard to understand. It's hard to set it up, and it's hard to keep it. At Collective Shift, we just simplify that. You follow along with a video step by step, and we teach you the ins and outs. And at the end of it, your crypto that you have will be safe. You'll understand it a lot more, and you'll be ahead of 99% of people.
Yeah, spot on. And we've helped a lot of people recently. So go in there and check it out. That's how I built my $1 million portfolio. We're starting from zero. Hopefully that's given you some tips and tricks and strategies so you can start to build your portfolio, and also some more risk on areas that we just mentioned about in those sectors. If you like these episodes, we'd love for you to share it with a friend. Is there anyone else that's in crypto that's been on the fence, not really sure how to start, or needs a strategy? Send them this episode. We'd love to help them out. And Bergs, good to have you back, man.
Mate, it's great to be back. Love that episode. It just is so reaffirming for me. I need to hear those things every so often just to remind myself this is the way.
Spot on, man. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time on Ben Bergs. Catch ya.
Thanks, champions. See you later.